Hey Chris, alright, see if we can get this message out. As I said before, this is a model of how I see the dimensional levels built to create the universe. This here is the first dimension. Now the first dimension is pure energy, prana, I forgot, chi, all of that. That's all in the first dimension. Now, if you're everything, the only thing you can do to be more than yourself is to express yourself in the next step down, which would actually create the whole, and that's the second dimension. And the second dimension is the energy from the first expressed in the tripartite. So tripartite is sound, geometry, and frequency. Please excuse my spelling, it's absolutely atrocious, and my writing, and everything else in between. Yep. So, in the second dimension, it's a mixture of sound, geometry, and frequency in every possible permutation, in every sort of mix that you could get. So that's that goes to that, that goes to that, that goes to that, that goes to that. Yeah. A boot, right. So a mixture of all of those in all different weights and measures creates what we see in the third dimension. But the main basis of what all of these three create, the sweet point, is light. And it's the light which is the transport to bring all of this information in all different ways into the third dimension. Let's make that nice because I drew it a while back. Yeah. So then we have, let's just draw. So then that's going down. So this is the third. So this is light going into the third dimension to create everything that we see around us. Now, the funny thing is some of the weaker combinations up here extinguish all of their light to create a sound or to create a two-dimensional image, because that's the only way that this can come into here on its without it being full power is through its singular components, which is sound, geometry and frequency, because all of that was already calculated, and once it was calculated and the energy was given off the spark, it imprints in there because there has to be a counteraction for the spark. I don't know, that's how it works, science says. A measure of things, so, you know, they've got at least that bit right. So then, in the third, we are projected by, you're projected by light. So we come into the third as a projection, and then you come into the third as the spark, and then those sparks create, create the projection. Because when the light comes in here, because it is this thing here, frequency, as it all slows down, because remember, as the spark is given off, you know, it's giving off energy, and if that energy doesn't have enough, energy only has enough hold to permeate into the third dimension and leave an imprint. So that's why you get, like I said, you get symbols and sigils and different sounds and tones. They're the ones that are only able to come in and last a second, like what I'm saying now, and then that what I just said, and that what I just said, it's gone. Once I've said it, there's nothing to propel it and keep it going. Now the light of us, because we are a much higher frequency of all these, and the light carries us in. As our light is projected and slowed down, it stops at very different wavelengths. On all forms, it stops at different wavelengths. So then you get the liver, the kidneys. Hell, that's how you even get a rock. All of this is the things that I've got there, light inside, but that light can only permeate to a certain frequency, vibration, tone and geometry to create each individual single thing. That's why no one thing is the same, because the energy that comes through is never the same, because the whole point in not wanting to be whole is experience. You know, that's why nature doesn't go, ooh, I'll have a tree, but I'll have that tree exactly the same. There's no variance, there's no experience. And that's where the third is the magical sweet spot, I guess. We have variance, the energy comes through and dissipates, but the larger energies, which are able to hold, for instance, humans, because of the because of just the majesty of it all. There's a beautiful word. It escapes me now. But just the majesty of the light that we hold inside of us propels us, keeps us here. And man, I forgot that. I forgot where I was going with that, but it'll come to me. That's it, sorry, yeah. So the light that we've got that propels us, it actually starts to give us higher senses, a higher awareness of things. That's why the frequency of all these that we have inside of us is, as we see it, the pinnacle, because not only now are we the projected, but our light is of such magnitude, glory, that we can also be the projector. We can also be the projector, because we're able to take in all the different signs and sigils and frequencies and sound waves. We take them in, we can synthesize. Oh no, what is it? What's the common one? Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. We take it in, we analyse it, And then we project. Every single piece of artwork or every single book that you've wrote is a projection, because we took in the environment. So yeah, let me just do this. So they go through they took in the environment, which is have set rules around it. Then in our fourth dimension, we synthesize, and then we project back. So this is our projection. It's the way that we carve our place in the world. It's the way we carve ourselves as well. But the bit here, so this is the bit of the fourth within the third, because the fourth is in the third. Then we need to do this. Then we need to put the subconscious, and I guess what we could call this the active mind. I see my writing's getting atrocious. So now, let's see. Environment informs light. That information then is taken in by the active mind, which informs the subconscious. Now for most of the part, the active mind would just go straight back there to our projections, to our projection, for us to project back into the environment. And then it happens again, over and over again, and that's how we create our third dimension. We project. Now, while all this is happening, at some point, I guess you could just put like memory. Like we act from memory, but this memory isn't the best, because it has to adhere to third dimensional rules. But the subconscious is a lot deeper. The subconscious is more like light now. So yeah, sorry. So the subconscious, I'm just going to put that in there. That like that. The subconscious takes all of this in. It doesn't. The subconscious doesn't leave anything out. It picks up everything. But the active mind is only able to access the parts that the memory thought was important at that certain time. I can't even figure out how to draw that with arrows. So the active mind, the active mind goes in. And then it goes into memory, then the subconscious is just taking it all in. It really doesn't care what path it goes through. And then the subconscious then reinforms the memory and goes, oh, remember that, yeah. And then this subconscious comes and goes into the active mind, and the active mind thinks, well, yeah, of course, I know that. We all know that guy. Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah. And then from the so then you've got the the environment program, the fourth dimension, which is the bit inside. You know it's another dimension because you can't experience what's inside anywhere else again. That's why you can't go back to the womb. And you know it's another dimension because if you expose any of this out to any of this here, it ain't gonna work because it's contained. But now, here's the good part, the pivotal part. We're no longer adhering to manifestation because the manifestation part happened because there's not enough energy to transfer everything here to be permanent like us. That's why you can't bring all of the knowledge around, and it just went, well, you can only have that much light, any more light than that, and this isn't going to be stable. So what we're going to do is tell you all the information about everything around you, in everything around you. Clever. And so we're supposed to take that in, take all that knowledge back and like, yeah. So it's programming our subconscious, the active mind. If it's alright, it can comprehend most of it, but if it doesn't, like we see in everyone, it just, everything, like all the experiences just get pushed into the subconscious. Which then takes us to the fifth. Because the subconscious doesn't just hold on to it and just be like, yeah, that's cool. The subconscious then infers so much of this because it's too much. There's a lot, it's taking in a lot every single day, and I don't think the fifth wants a lot of it. It doesn't need it because, I'll explain what I believe the fifth is. So sorry, I probably should have just put here. It's only a small part, so it's going to be dreams. Dreams. Every night the subconscious goes, oh, what have I taken in today? Let's find that as a dream. And then you have these dreams, and if you're lucky, you can actually pull some back through. The dreams also go into the subconscious, I believe, because there's been times where I've had dreams, I've known I've had dreams, but I can't recall them, and it could be like 5 hours into the day, and something will spark it, and then it's all just flying back into the through to the memory, to the active mind, and I'm like, oh, I had a dream last night. Crazy. So then you've got this part, but there's all this light energy just here in the fourth. And when you go to sleep, or when you meditate, or when you start to shut this down or put this into a more, well, I call it, you could call it a resonant state, because once this light's active and once you start to shut all this down, and it's just a resonance of it all going, because the heart's going to keep everything going, because that's the resonant point that keeps the energy in place, for a search for a better explanation, because it's the second resonant point, and once this resonant point starts to weaken, because it's shutting down and it's taking less, and it's actively thinking about less of what has to be done here, and the heart starts taking over more here when you go to sleep, then this light can just go over here to the fifth dimension. Now, the fifth dimension is comprised of every single third dimensional entity that can dream, or has sentience, or is energy that's able to even get to this point fixed. I mean, you take it through when you see a tree, because you see trees in your subconscious, in your dream. Remember, your light now, your energy, so anything that you experience actually becomes manifest because it's now light. You've taken the information from slowed down light into your light projector, and now you're taking it to a different part. and that is the fifth. Now the fifth is the foundation because it's the combination of all the beings, like I said. So this is foundational, subconscious. Now this has to be like that because this is now going back up the pillar. So your foundation's here. We've created it. Now the six is where magic is. Now the six is, I'll say magic. So let's say, just for now, because I'll explain it. Let's just say the six are where I couldn't spell this word earlier, so I'm not going to spell it down, I apologise, but this is where deities reside. And just for words, put anything from folklore, just all that, like pixies and werewolves and vampires, all that. How could I forget? Unicorns, leprechauns, all of those, all the corns, they all reside in the sixth. I'll go into it, I'll explain a little bit further after I've just finished this. And the sixth, so the sixth, but these guys need food too and energy. These guys need food. But as we've seen here, it's not physical. It's not like this stuff here that we have in the environment. Because look, we now light now, so we're light beings, and the foundation is light. So here, these are light beings, but of a different frequency. So what do they eat? Light. But it's not like we eat slow down light. They eat light. And but obviously they need to be manifested too. They need to come from somewhere too, and then that would be the there's a sixth. That would be from the seventh, because the seventh also has a tripartite of energy, which will be the same, which is sound, geometry, and I feel like it's getting really bad now. I'm going. That's actually too bad. I'll have to do that again. And frequency. That's the seventh, and then the eighth. Sorry about that. The eighth is wholeness again. Let's put this back. Now, why I stopped kind of explaining there, because I wanted to just go back a little bit and explain what this is. And so this line here is the sorry. This is the I don't know how to not that word, but this is the conceivable. What's the word? Conceivable surroundings, the conceivable environment. So everything this side is a conceivable environment, everything that we can measure, everything that science can measure. Sorry. even the stuff that we can't measure now, when the technology comes around, they'll be able to measure it. That's everything on this side. So how all of this comes about is just the same. So there's pure energy there. It goes into the tripartite, then it goes into the third. Now this is what we can conceive, but of course that's only a fraction. You know, that's the trick. Well, of course, if we can't conceive it, it's not conceivable at all. But yeah, science. But really, it's just what we conceive. So there's a whole separate side. So when wholeness is there, this is other side of wholeness, because when it decided not to be whole, that's when all of this started happening. That's when there was a part that we couldn't conceive, because if it wouldn't, it'd just be this express. Yeah. That's the other end. Just this. So there's this connection, but we don't see the connection. We're just like, oh yeah. From science's point of view, there's just positive and negative here, blah blah blah. But there's also a negative positive, because positive negative, because that's on this side. It's just that we can't measure that. Same with that, as we split down into things, there's a tripartite here, a tripartite of light. The tripartite of light there, and that's where I come back to the deities. It's all the same thing, but we can conceive this and we can't conceive this, because this is, I'm gonna call it higher light. This is higher light. So these deities, they come from this light, and on their side is all these different sound geometries and frequencies that they understand, and they're like, okay, cool, so now I need to sustain myself off these, because they also have an environment. But I would suggest I would say that they all have individual environments, because they are more light than we are. Oops. Yeah, they are more light than we are, because it's a higher light. Now, just as all of this happening here, they too, like I said, have environment, and probably environments. I'll get onto that bit a little bit after. And they'll also have this, but I'm going to simplify it and just say that they will also have a projection, because they're projectors too. Here's a bit. These bits right here. Yeah. These bits right here are very intertwined. Because we have this bit here, which is where we first coming through as light. where we first start our ascension as light, they can perceive that because the foundations that they are built upon is our subconscious, is our experience in here, and from that they are able to project into our fourth. Now, at one point, I do believe this bandwidth or this frequency bridge or light bridge, so we'll call this, no, resonant bridge, thank you, yeah, resonant bridge. This resonance bridge this light bridge was once nice and open to the point where when we on a third dimension went through this, we set fixed points here and these projections could see those fixed points, and that gave us an avenue there we go, gave us an avenue to get to the environment, which is the astral plane. And through the astral plane, if we know the right symbols, and sigils or tones or vibrations, we can get access while we're here to these environments. Or if you're especially adept, you can actually create your own environment. So call it it's just that once you're here, you've got to understand the principles of what you are to be able to go, okay, then everything that I've pre-programmed into the fifth subconscious, like I can just pull up, lock on the key, sigil for you to remember, memorize it, come back to the third, Bob's your uncle. Now you've got realty in the astral plane. So why is it like that now? Well, remember all this light frequency and geometry. At some point on here, somebody understood all of this and was like, that's nice, but these are powerful beings, and I like it here. I don't want to have to share it with Tiffany down the road and Robert round the corner. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get together with a lot of my best friends and family, and we're going to devise a plan to have this for ourselves. We'll mask what's really happening in the world by just messing with people's environment. Easy. Then we can keep our projection clean to understand more about here, to know what we need to do here. And that was, as they say in Highlander 3, you need to erect the lightning shield. Is it the light shield or lightning shield? You have to erect that. And now when you think of that, everyone's thinking, oh, it's going to be a dome, or it's going to be something, it's going to be some high power technology, but it's not. Think about it, it's energy, it's electricity, good old L. put that out, and then we put L right there.